From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes, brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another year as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. And the Minnesota Vikings didn't exactly ring in 2024 with a lot of good cheer as they cratered against their arch rivals at home, Green Bay, 33-10. They finished with a 2-6 home record in the House of Noise.
When was the last time they were this bad at home?
It's been probably decades.
You asked me that question, and we haven't looked it up, and I'm not going to look it up until maybe after the show. But the first thing that came to mind was the Les Steckel year.
It was a 3-13 team.
3-13.
Yeah. Back when they played 16, which is what they should play now. But
yeah. I think the season's too long.
Oh boy, is it ever!
They keep stretching it out further and
Never
further.
thought I'd get football fatigue, but I haven't.
You have NFL fatigue.
I do. It's just they gotta cut it off.
Well, the Vikings will do that to you when you keep rotating quarterbacks. And as Stu Voigt told us on our radio show, the former Vikings tight end, when you have three quarterbacks, you have none.
The big zero.
Yeah.
Goose egg. Well, and on the flip side, and this is purple pain for the Viking fans out there watching, but
right.
Their arch rival Green Bay, they found the secret sauce for quarterbacks, right? I mean, Jordan Love trending up. He was very good against Minnesota. Yeah. Could get Green Bay in the playoffs. We'll see what they do against Chicago, but they may be going from Brett Favre, generational QB, Aaron Rodgers, generational QB, to I think Love at least is going to stick around for a while.
Yeah.
He has a little bit of Rodgers in his game.
Yeah, well, we know he's mobile. We've seen that. It's just a matter of him being able to check down, find the right receivers. He's got a young receiving core, so they may be out on the upswing again. And your Vikings are. I've said this the last couple of years. Is what happens when Kirk Cousins gets hurt? What happens if Kirk Cousins leaves? Well, we're going to find out. We found out what happens when he gets hurt. They're terrible. They just have been just rotten the last few weeks, without question. The offense has been very, very stagnant. And now we're going to find out what the plan is going forward. Do they have a plan? I don't think they've ever had a plan.
No, what is the blueprint? And I've said for a few years now, going back to Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman when it was their regime, that they've never had a backup quarterback that you need. Yes, Kirk Cousins has been the Iron Man. He's been Cal Ripken until this season. Right. But it was inevitable that at some point he was going to go down. What are we on, 60 quarterbacks playing this year in a 32-team league? It's ridiculous. Very few guys make it through 17 games, let alone the playoffs if you get there. The Vikings historically have never really identified that QB2 position. It's huge in today's NFL. We're seeing it this season. Your squad, the Cleveland Browns, they're on QB4, Joe Flacco, and goodness, he's got him in the playoffs.
He's got him in the playoffs. And that's a guy that actually probably fit better into the mold of what Kevin O'Connell likes to do offensively because, they tried to turn Josh Dobbs into Kirk Cousins. That hasn't worked out. And then they tried to stick Nick Mulligans in there, and he has been just, I don't know. I am not a believer in Nick Mulligans, and Jaron Hall's just too young. So they're 0 for 3.
And I will say this, though. You can bang on Nick Mullins. You can bang on Jaron Hall.
I know where this is going.
You can bang on the pastor, not Joshua Dobbs. But without a quality offensive line that is physical, you're going nowhere. The Vikings are a one-trick pony. They can't run the ball. They only throw it. I talked to Kenny Clark of the Packers after the game the other night. And I said, what was the difference between Minnesota winning in Green Bay and then losing at home? Obviously, Cousins played for Minnesota. Big difference. But Clark said they ran the ball on us. The Vikings rarely run it. They had 17 yards against Detroit.
Yeah, they're pass happy. But the NFL is pass happy.
It's just arena football on steroids.
Well, that makes this backup quarterback even more important than ever.
Exactly.
Because if you're a passing league, that means you're passing 40 times a game. And, boy, I tell you, that just did not look very good against the Packers and others. All right, I am told we need to take a break because we are going to talk some good news. We've got Kevin Lynch to talk some hoops with us.
Stick around. We are 10K Takes, your purple pain ticket.
In Lakeville, Minnesota, dozens of meeting venues are ready to host your next corporate event, banquet, and holiday party. Lakeville has unique conference facilities, a variety of hotels, an abundance of team-building options, and dining that are sure to impress. For suggestions that suit your needs, please call the Lakeville Convention and Visitors Bureau at 952-469-2020 or go to visitlakeville.org. Lakeville, we mean business.
The excitement is real at Fond du Lac Casino. With over 650 slots to play, there's always something going on right in the heart of downtown Duluth. Come in to enjoy 2 floors of entertainment where you'll find some of the hottest new games along with a number of the old favorites. Play at your comfort level, all the way up to high stakes where the payouts can be huge. Relax in a comfortable atmosphere and maybe get a beverage while you gather and have fun with your friends. Open 7 days a week so you can
have a great time out at Fond du Lac.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Well, if you're down about the purple, the Minnesota Vikings, hold on. We've got the cure. It's the Minnesota Timberwolves. They have been all that and a bag of chips, as you like to say, and certainly on the path to perhaps a postseason run of sorts that we haven't seen here in a while. Joining us now to talk about just that, former Gopher and current Timberwolves TV analyst Kevin Lynch. Kevin, appreciate you coming on the show. Your thoughts on this first, I guess it's quarter to third of the season and what you've seen so far?
They've spent weeks at least right there at the top as far as best NBA record. It's great to see. It's about time. There's been so many losing seasons, as we all know, with the Wolves. So let's enjoy this. And this is their best, most talented roster I think they've ever had. I think their whole basketball situation, talented roster. I think Chris Finch is a rock solid head coach. That's my opinion. And I think their basketball decision making with Tim Conley is as good as it's ever been and stable. So I'm not, I kind of thought the Wolves last year would get off to a start something like this, even with D'Angelo Russell as their point guard, but then Towns gets hurt. The adjustment with Rudy Gobert was tougher, and so there was things going on. You'd trade for Mike Conley. But I'm excited. I think this team has got a pretty high ceiling, and let's enjoy this while it lasts.
And obviously, Kevin, the goal is to stay on top of the West, garner the number 1 seed. But it's a long season. Denver's going to probably make a run. OKC's very good. There are some talented teams in the Western Conference. In my opinion, the key is be at least the number 4 seed or higher to get home court, where the Timberwolves are almost unbeatable this season.
No, I think that's true, and especially a team that hasn't been through the wars. Like pretty much every team that gets to the finals or wins an NBA championship has had, gut-wrenching disappointments the year before, 2 years before. They get hardened. The Wolves just have not had that. So I think if they want to advance pretty far this year in the playoffs or get to the Western Conference Finals or whatever, having home court advantage would really help this team because they haven't been beaten down and motivated by previous losses in the playoffs. So I think you're right. I think, plus, you look at Mike Conley's contract is up after this season. Kyle Anderson's contract is up. 2 really important players. So who knows out of those 2 will be back next year. So right now, let's focus on this team because they got a chance to do something big.
No, you mentioned Michael Conley. Let's talk about him and what he has meant to the cohesion of this squad. And I said it, I was not a big D'Lo guy as far as being a point guard. He could score, and actually when they traded him, he probably was the best shooter they had at the time or the best scorer they had at the time, considering that Towns was hurt at the time. But I think Michael Conley has been absolutely exactly what they've needed, and they continue to thrive with him on the floor.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, he's played, 17, 18 years now. We all knew he was a really good player and a former all-star player. We knew he was good. But there's so many other point guards in this league that are just flashier, whether it's Steph Curry or Damian Lillard or Kyrie Irving, Russell Westbrook, guys like that, kind of in his generation that play louder, play above the rim maybe. But this guy you're exactly right. Exactly what they needed. A veteran, calming influence, almost always plays well when the game gets tight and they need somebody to step up outside of Towns and Edwards. He has done that. And I don't know if there's another point. I mean, you could probably think of other point guards that would, do what he's doing or even better. But man, what a fit for this team. Mike Conley has been great.
As you know, Kevin, the conventional wisdom in the association is you need 3 stars to win and win big. So they have that trifecta in Ant, Cat, and Rudy G, and they've all done very well so far. But I'm blown away by the defensive basketball they're playing. And you look at these great teams of yesteryear, the Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls or Kobe and the LA Lakers. Yeah, we focus on the acrobatics, but they locked down on D, and that's what Minnesota's doing.
Yeah, and one of the things, I know I've talked about it with you guys previously, is before they got Rudy Gobert last year, and we could sit and debate about how many draft picks they gave up, and yeah, you're going to lose those picks, and that's going to sting. But I said to you guys previously multiple times they had to get bigger because 2 years ago when they did not have Gobert and they got to Memphis, they should have beaten Memphis in that series, but the Wolves got absolutely hammered under the basket, right around the hoop, against a team that's, not necessarily big and really strong, but Memphis just bullied Minnesota. And that was a good example of how they needed another big body next to Towns. And, they finally they're playing big. So defensively, like you said, Eric, I think they've got Gobert, an oversized center. They got a big power forward in Towns. Jaden McDaniels is 6'9". That's pretty tall nowadays for a small forward. So their size is really bothering people defensively. And they got guys that are committed to playing defense too. So if they can keep playing good defense the rest of this season, they are going to get to where they want to go as far as seeding, the top 3-4 seeds, get home court advantage, and they're going to have a chance to do something good in the playoffs with that size. It's really helping them. They had to do it. If they stuck with that roster from 2 years ago with Towns at center and Vanderbilt as power forward, they were just going to continue to get pushed around and bullied, and I was getting sick and tired of watching it.
Good point. All right, let's stay with the big man talk. Not only has Gobert been obviously a key piece on the defensive end, but I think that Chris Finch, and you talked about how good a coach you think Chris Finch is, and I agree, but I thought that they've done a really good job this year of using Gobert in the pick and roll, something that he thrives in. And obviously that helps that he and Conley have played together before. There's no question about that. But I really like the pick and roll setup that they use him because he's scoring some points now too.
I'm telling you, this whole three-point shooting revolution that's gone on, not just in the NBA, but in the sport of basketball. You go to youth basketball. I run my own youth basketball camps. These kids come onto the floor. They might be fourth graders. And all they want to do is jack threes. Now, I get like the excitement or the sexiness or whatever of shooting threes a lot. That's, you watch Steph Curry long enough, you get excited to do that skill. But, not having an inside game is going to be a problem. So it's a real weapon to have a guy like Gobert. They run particular plays, that little mid pick and roll. They throw up lobs, and it's whether it's Conley, it's Towns, Edwards, or Anderson. They got guys who like to throw that lob to set him up. Plus, you keep him engaged offensively. So, it's a real weapon to have a guy that can just catch the ball and because of his size can just go up and get dunks. And he's a limited player in some ways offensively. It's not like you're going to post him up and he's going to Akeem Olajuwon. He doesn't have that. But as far as running plays for him to get him dunks and breaking, and plus when you get the ball inside to him, it collapses defenses. You can kick it out and get threes that way. That's another way to get open threes. So, I hope they can keep doing it. Get him the ball, get him some dunks. And a lot of times when you're engaged offensively, it energizes your defense. That's another reason to keep getting him the ball too. So many good things happen when they get the ball inside. They get the ball inside to Towns or Gobert, and they get scoring opportunities right at the basket. It's important.
Kevin, you were a Minnesota prep basketball legend back in the day at Bloomington Jefferson, then played on some great Minnesota Gopher teams, Clem Haskins and company. Just curious what you think about, here we are now, it's 2024. You got three guys from Apple Valley High in the NBA, Trey and Tyus Jones, Gary Trent Jr. You got two from Minnehaha Academy, Chet Holmgren and Jalen Suggs, and both their teams, the Thunder and the Magic, are off to good starts. I mean, Minnesota basketball, you've watched it progress in the last 30 to 40 years. It's right up there with a lot of states in the nation.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's, back when I was in high school, nobody came here. I mean, I didn't have any really major schools come after me back in those days. And that was because nobody knew anything about me. Everybody was recruiting the hockey players, and nobody thought there was any basketball talent here. And one reason why no major schools, really besides Minnesota, came after me was because there was no AAU programs. So the kids from Minnesota weren't traveling to the East Coast or down to Texas or California to play and show everybody that there's some talent here. But now, like right after I left high school, so we're talking late 80s, early 90s was when the AAU program started in this state. Now kids from Minnesota are traveling around the country and playing and getting exposure, which I didn't get at all. So that hurt me. But now these programs all over the country, these college programs and major programs, are getting Minnesota kids because they're finding out kids can play here, whereas back in the day, nobody came here. So I'm not surprised. And there's going to be more and more kids. And look at Chet Holmgren. He might be probably in the leader right now as far as rookie of the year. So he's right there to do that. So, yeah, it's exciting. And the Jones brothers, it's great that those guys are doing well. I'm happy for Trey. And Tyus has had an excellent career. So it's fun to watch these guys have success. David Roddy from Breck,
right,
who's at Memphis, he's doing okay coming off the bench. And there's others too.
Yeah,
Zeke Naji. Paige Becker.
Zeke Naji. Yeah, that's right.
The list is long. I mean, the Gophers are going to get the kid from Cherry, so it's not just the Metro. It's from small town Minnesota, too. So you're right. AAU's made a difference, and now these kids are getting that exposure. Kevin, appreciate you spending some time with us talking hoops. We, again, will check with you down the road because I think this Timberwolves thing is the real deal this year.
Yeah, let's have some fun with it. And by the way, you guys, you look fabulous.
Oh, thank you. You
Kevin.
look fabulous.
But thanks for having me.
Hey, Kevin, let me thank you for not going into load management mode when we requested to do the interview with you. Because a lot of guys would have said, "No, I need the night off." No load management.
No, I'm playing hurt right now.
Perfect. You should be that way. He is Kevin Lynch, former Gopher, current Timberwolves broadcaster, with us here on 10,000 Takes. More after this timeout. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Finding the ideal place to stay is important for business travelers. Lakeville, Minnesota is conveniently located off I-35, just south of the Twin Cities, with a variety of hotel choices. Lakeville offers convenient amenities such as shopping, walking trails, golf, and more. Our unique meeting spaces, historic downtown, live music, and over 60 dining options are sure to impress. Book your next stay in Lakeville and experience convenience, comfort, and quality. Find your perfect hotel at visitlakeville.org.
Welcome back. 10,000 takes. Well, I believe we have had our final year of not knowing really who the best 12 teams are in college football, because we're going to get the playoffs next year. I think its time has long come.
Yeah.
And but we do have a final two after the final four. And boy, I'll tell you, those two playoff games were pretty good. Both the Michigan game and Washington winning. The two Big Ten teams.
Yeah.
Washington will be a Big Ten team next year.
Exactly. Great theater. They all came down to the final seconds. So Washington moves on. Michigan moves on. You don't have Clemson playing this year in the title game.
No.
You don't have Georgia
No.
or Alabama or your Ohio State Buckeyes. You got some, I don't want to say new blood. I mean, Michigan's a blue blood. And Washington's been very good for a long time, but I still think because they're upper left coast on the map, they fly under the radar. This is a fantastic program, and Michael Penix Jr. He's a wonderful quarterback. I mean, this guy's got the accuracy of Greg Maddox. Remember him, the
Yes.
pitcher?
I
I mean, he
remember
drops
Greg
dimes. So J.J. McCarthy's pretty good for Michigan. Should be a lot of fun. But ABC should have this game. Why is it only going to be on ESPN? They're not going to get as many eyeballs as they could. ABC, step in. Step in. Take this game.
Yeah, they took Monday Night Football.
Exactly.
Why not do this?
This is college football Super Bowl.
Unbelievable. Well, they better fix it next year
Oh.
because not everybody can see it. Why would you not want everybody to see your
Now,
product?
you got to go to a sports bar or have cable or be a video pirate like some people I know.
I don't know who that would be. All right. So you're on about that. I'm on about this. So there were 41 bowl games this year.
Let's go bowling.
Let's go bowling. 82 teams got bowl invites. One of those bowl games, the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Did you watch the Pop-Tarts Bowl?
No, but I
Did you see the mascot?
the Pop-Tart.
Yeah, strawberry.
Edible, right?
Yeah, strawberry. Well, he wasn't edible, or she was not edible. But at the end of the game, the winning team got to eat the edible big Pop-Tart that popped out of a big toaster.
I like that. And that's good marketing.
Are you a Pop-Tarts guy?
I like Pop-Tarts.
Frosted?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, no.
You're
That's like
Mr. Plain and Vanilla, aren't you?
Yeah, that's like eating a candy bar. Well, you should have been big on the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That I love it. The big Pop-Tart, and the players come up and grabbing pieces of the big Pop-Tart.
Probably the highlight of your collegiate careers.
Kind of like the turducken thing that your guy John Madden
Yeah.
used to do.
Yeah,
Same
Thanksgiving,
thing.
yeah.
Eat a big Pop-Tart. There you go. All right. More to come. Takes of the day coming up next here on 10,000 Takes. Stay with us.
The excitement is real at Fond du Lac Casino. With over 650 slots to play, there's always something going on right in the heart of downtown Duluth. Come in to enjoy 2 floors of entertainment where you'll find some of the hottest new games along with a number of the old favorites. Play at your comfort level all the way up to high stakes where the payouts can be huge. Relax in a comfortable atmosphere and maybe get a beverage while you gather and have fun with your friends. Open 7 days a week so you can
Have a great time out at Fond du Lac.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
10K takes on television as we wrap up yet another episode and launch you into 2024. We'll have takes of the day here coming up momentarily, but we should talk some puck. The Minnesota Wild under the new head coach, John Hines, they've certainly gotten much better, but a couple of hiccups in that home-and-home series against Winnipeg, a team they're chasing. in the NHL Central Division of the Western Conference as the Jets swept them, and the Wild lost some key players.
Yeah, they lost Kirill Kaprizov, they lost Philip Gustafson. I mean, arguably your number one goaltender and your top player go down in that contest. Now, I think that the Wild, first of all, what we learned here is A, Winnipeg's pretty good, and B, that even though the Wild have played well since John Hines came on board, they've got a long ways to go. They can't drop weekend series like that. They can ill afford to have contests like that where they're dropping 2-3 in a row because they have such a huge hole to dig out from earlier in the season. I think these guys, they played well for John Hines for a couple of reasons. One, people have told us that, they needed a new voice in the room. And then secondly, they didn't want to get this guy fired. They feel like they got Dean Evison fired. He's a good hockey coach, but basically they got him fired.
Yeah, and they dug a hole so deep. Have you ever been to the Iron Range up there, Mesabi and Hibbing and those places? Those open iron ore pits. I mean, that's how deep the hole was for the Wild, and they're still trying to get out. And they're going to have to continue to play, winning basically 3 out of every 4 down the stretch and getting 2-point regulation wins. That's why giving up 4 to Winnipeg in 2 games without getting 1 is not good.
No, not at all.
All right, so we're into 2024.
Yes.
Christmas and New Year's is in the rearview mirror. Are you a little mellow this year? Are you in a good mood? Or are you just the quintessential angry American or grumpy Guardian like normal?
Well, I think you already know the answer to that without asking the question. But I will say 'twas the season. Not 'tis the season, 'twas the season. We are just past the holidays now. But I want to rewind back to Christmas Eve and the National Football League feeling that they had to play games on Christmas Eve, a full slate of games. Now, Christmas Eve was on a Sunday. They had the opportunity to play those games on Saturday. Why not play them all on Saturday? Does the National Football League and Roger Goodell, do you really need to Bigfoot the Lord? Is that really your MO these days? You don't care about anything. You remember back in the day, there have been some good games on Christmas Day, some historic games. The Kansas City Chiefs, Miami Dolphins game from back in the early 70s. I recall that, terrific game. And it's okay. I think on Christmas Day, it's a little less sacred for folks. I think that they look at Christmas Eve as more sacred. And the National Football League used to avoid playing on Christmas Eve. But now we got to play every single hour of the day from noon until midnight, basically. The National Football League was playing. And yes, they were playing at night as well. There was a night game. Mind you, none of the networks wanted it, so they stuck it on the NFL network. But the point is they should not be playing these games on Christmas Eve. You had a Saturday. You could have played all day Saturday. But no, you stuck us with games on Christmas Eve. Cut it out, National Football League. We don't want you on Christmas Eve. Get out of town.
Oh, boy. Let's check that mood meter.
Yes.
I've got a feeling, yes, indeed, he's in the red zone.
Santa Claus
Unlike
red.
the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, you're peeking it.
Unlike the Vikings.
He's a grumpy Guardian. All right, well, fair enough. The NFL does Bigfoot anyone in their path, including God and Jesus.
Apparently.
My take is also going to be NFL related. Now, if you caught Dallas and Detroit last Saturday night down there in Arlington, Texas, you saw a very good game that was a debacle from an officiating standpoint. The Lions literally got cheated out of a win. But at halftime, after decades of keeping him out of the Ring of Honor, Jerry Jones finally puts Jimmy Johnson in the Cowboys' ring. Keep in mind, Jimmy Johnson won a national title at Miami with the Hurricanes, 2 Super Bowls with Dallas. This is a legendary coach, and he's very good on the Fox pre-, half, and post-game shows. But Jerry and Jimmy have had some friction, so it took a while. But now he's in the ring. And Jimmy made an emotional speech. I saw it. I choked up.
Wow.
But here's the deal, Jimmy. The only person you didn't thank is the one who probably deserved the most kudos, Mike Lynn, the Minnesota Vikings GM, who peddled a boatload of draft choices and players for Herschel Walker so you could build those Super Bowl teams.
Yeah. Without Mike Lynn, Jimmy Johnson doesn't win Super Bowls.
There's no Ring of Honor. There's nothing. He'd be on Fox. Maybe. All right, let's FedEx out those thank yous. One to John Gorski, Paul Langfellow, David Weld, Rocky, Kevin Lynch. For Wally, I'm Eric saying so long. This is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.